Well, one of the great things about this fundraiser is connecting with friends and for a good cause. And I can't think of anybody better that goes together with friends and cause than Summer Sanders, a two-time Olympian, a great TV teammate as well on We Need to Talk on CBS. Summer, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Anything for you. You are by far the best. You lead by example.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored to have you on this because I would have never asked you in the first couple of years. I feel like we had to build up some credibility to get star power like yourself on the live stream. And it means a lot to me that you say yes. You always say yes.
Well, I look at my friends, and when they're passionate and they have reason behind what they do, it becomes apparent. And you can only, like I said, you ooze this, and so you lead by example. And I want so much to help my friends that are passionate about their projects, and that's you.
Give us a little bit about your story, Summer. I know people will recognize you as the Olympian that you are, but give a little background so people know exactly who you are and what you're doing right now.
Okay, well, I am was originally a California girl, but weaved my way through New York City, San Francisco, Stanford, LA, and then ended up in Park City, Utah, because I met my husband on a blind date, and that's where he lived. I think I'm best known as Sky and Spider's mom. It's my greatest title, and I know that you share that with me. You love being your mom, and you love championing for your kids. That's why we're here. Uh, so, if I was to define myself, I've always been a bit of a fierce friend and female representative. I was raised by a strong woman who always reminded me how important it was to be grateful for the opportunities that I had. We had that wonderful time, Debbie, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and it meant so much to me. And most of that came from my mother reminding me that she didn't have the opportunity, and she always wished that she did. So, yeah, I think that's me. I'm just a fierce representative of you know, female sports broadcasting, and I love, raising strong, awesome kids.
Tell us a little bit about your kids because it's really interesting what they're doing.
Yeah, well, so my daughter Sky just turned 17, and she about almost 2 years ago, um, not close, well, almost 2 years ago, found the sport of rugby. She has always been this aggressive, I want to tackle my brother. And my son Spider's always been like, oh my God, find somebody else to tackle. It hurts. And so she found somebody else to tackle. So she loves the sport of rugby. She's junior year of high school right now. So if anybody remembers their junior year, oh, have empathy for her. But she's crushing it right now. And then my son Spider is 15, and he is a ski racer. So he's at a ski academy, Burke Mountain Academy in Vermont. And, we're just trying to, the greatest bit of advice my mom gave me, and she really gave it to me by saying what she did with me, was she felt the least she could do was match my commitment. I don't know if you've met any swimmers besides me, Debbie, but we train so hard. It's crazy. And so somebody's got to take those crazy kids to practice at 4:30 in the morning. And that was my mom. So um match their commitment, and that's, I feel like what we're trying to do, and what my husband Eric and I have always felt the least we could do for our kids.
Tell us a little bit about your swimming journey. Everyone recognizes your name as being an Olympic swimmer, and you mentioned the training that goes into it. But you had to make some hard choices along the way.
I did. Most everybody probably knows about NIL right now, right? That's a big difference, and something that surely could have helped me when I was in college. But I'm not bitter about any of my decisions. I loved my decision. So I was a Stanford swimmer. I originally, when I was younger, wanted to go to USC because I knew I wanted to get into television, and that's where you went, for film and television and all of that. But then I went to a swim meet at Stanford when I was 10. And, I say this to parents all the time: be careful sending your kids on a visit to Stanford University. You'll say, see you later. And that was it. I was there at Stanford, and I was like, this is where I want to go. And it was nice that it lined up with a coach that I knew I would work really well with. His name was Richard Quick. So I was very lucky that it all kind of aligned like that. But yes, I went to Stanford, and it's funny that you say that Iowa just had their 50th anniversary of Title IX. Not just 3 weeks ago, I was back at Stanford for that same thing. We had a celebration of 50 icons and leaders in the world of sports from Stanford, so men and women, and that was pretty fun to go back to that. But yeah, so I grew up there swimming, and Stanford was a big leap for me. That's where I was in the steps of making an Olympic team. I had in 1988 missed out by 27 100ths of a second.
Wow.
So I knew I wanted to make it. I was like, the fire was there, and it was great. And then, showing up on Stanford campus with Richard Quick and all of my teammates who were my biggest competition every single day in the pool. They were amazing. And then I show up at Olympic trials. I qualified for 4 events, which was the first time anybody had done that since Shirley Babashoff back in 1976 on the women's side. So I felt like in such a good place. And then I did think about my business, Debbie. I always knew that I wanted to do something outside of swimming. And at that moment, and it was after the NCAA championships, which was after I made the Olympic team. We at that time our Olympic trials were March, and the Olympic Games weren't until July. I gave up my eligibility at Stanford to earn money, and it was biggest big girl decision. I had to put on my big girl pants, and my dad and I had this conversation. He's like, "This has to be you. I cannot make this decision for you." And he said, "I would just suggest that you make enough money to pay for your Stanford education." So there was final quarter of my sophomore year. I was writing out my check for tuition, room, and board for Stanford University, which I did for for my subsequent 2 more years. So I do. I mean, the only thing I would say is I love the fact that I gave myself 2 NCAA championship years. I loved college swimming. It was my favorite thing ever. And I would just say to every athlete now, like, what a gift that you have, specifically in the Olympic sport era, right? Where you have gymnasts that can experience the joy and the accolades and the monetary moment of an Olympic Games, and you don't have to miss out on your collegiate experience because all of it shapes you. And so I was so blessed that I had that. But if NIL had been in existence, I would have probably swum and loved swimming much longer than I did.
I think that's so interesting because you were way ahead of your time. I mean, this was not a decision that a lot of people were making at the time. I mean, they weren't foregoing their college eligibility. They were trying to figure out how they could stay as an Olympian, keep their amateur status, right? And
Yep.
not become a professional. So that was a very mature and advanced decision at the time, Summer. Like, wow, that's tough.
It was tough. It was not easy. In fact, the week after I made my decision, so I had a big press conference. Well, big, but I had a press conference at Stanford, and my awesome coach was there. My athletic director was there, and made the announcement. And then 1 week later, I called my dad, and I was like, "Oh my God, I think I've made a mistake. Do you think the NCAA would let me change it? Can I go back?" And he said, "I don't think so." It was like, yeah, that's the way big girl works. It's like you make these decisions and you've got to stick with it. And it was the right decision.
Well, it definitely was a right decision. I mean, look at the brilliant career you've had, and you've been able to do so many different things in television, and they're not really necessarily around swimming. I love the NBA inside stuff that you did for all those years, and then I get to do the We Need to Talk show, which is a wide variety of topics in women's sports, which is really fun to sit there with you and to hear all your opinions and your ideas, which is really kind of cool. What do you enjoy the most about the We Need to Talk show, Summer?
Well, I first have to say, Debbie, most people, and this is awesome. It is so awesome that most people actually know me from a show that I did on Nickelodeon called Figure It Out, where I felt like I was living the high life because I hosted Inside Stuff at the same time, but I would go down to Orlando and I would shoot like 40 some episodes, a whole season in about a month. And I got to slime people, act like a fourth grader. It's like I was paid to be a professional fourth grader. And then on the other side of my life, I got to hang out with NBA players and go to NBA games. I mean, it was the dreamiest time of my life. So, okay, my favorite thing about We Need to Talk is being with my co-hosts by far. And also like I like encouraging the people that I'm with just to like be themselves, just a sports personality and just get to hang out together. And
Hmm.
that's really my favorite part of television is just trying my best to make everyone shine. Whether it's the guests that we have, I'm always so curious and intrigued and learning from you. Like our last show was right before the NCAA championship and learning from you and Lisa Leslie about the ins and outs of who's going to be great during these NCAA championships, which, by the way, we need to discuss the men's side because my bracket, like 99% of America, was completely busted up.
A mess. You have been a big fan of what we're doing for Special Olympics for
Yes,
many
I have.
years, and I'm so grateful for your support. And, when you think about, you were talking about your training, I'm doing some significant training at my level to get ready for what I'm going to take on. It's not like being an Olympic swimmer, I can tell you that, but it definitely has its challenges. When you think about Special Olympics and your experience with all different kinds of athletes, Summer. What comes to mind about what we're doing and why you think this is important?
It doesn't matter the level of sport that you have reached. Doesn't matter if you're the best in the world or you're just starting out. The great common denominator is you're going to be successful if you can remember to find the joy in it. Every time I am around anyone who's involved in the Special Olympics, it is for the joy of the moment. It is for the joy of the experience. And that joy literally oozes out of any screen that I'm watching or any face or any smile. It's so contagious and wonderful. And Debbie, everything that you are doing adds to that joy. And I know it stems from the love of your children. And with that is your purpose and your passion. And that is just like added on top of this delicious Sunday that we get to experience when watching you do all of your free throws. I mean, it's amazing. This is why I love supporting you. You're not just sitting there saying, hey, do this. You're out there doing something, showing
Mhm.
your intense joy of this game that you love so much to express the joy that we all have for the Special Olympics.
That's exactly it. It's a grassroots, pure in the driveway. As a little girl, you were in the pool. As a little girl, I was on the basketball court, playing all sports, but definitely dribbling the ball and shooting hoops and trying to, become better. And I think with Special Olympics, that's exactly, you hit it. I mean, that's exactly it. Sport is supposed to be an outlet, a source of joy, enjoyment. And that's what we're trying to do is help this population organize because families like mine that need that outlet for socialization and training and organization, like my other guys can call up and get a pickup game anytime they want. But when you have a child with special needs that loves to play sport, you have to have a landing spot. This is what we have with Special Olympics. So thank you. You said it exactly the way it needed to be said.
Well,
Thank you.
it's awesome. I mean, and you're creating a landing spot. So good for you. You're not just talking about it, you're doing it. And I hope everyone supports you. I can't wait to watch you. And I'm just honored that you asked me to be a part of this. I mean, I was kind of waiting for you. I'm sitting here listening to you talk about this, and I'm like, okay, is she going to ask me? Because I am about ready to bust out of my skin right now. So thank
Well,
you.
like I said, I needed to build up some credibility, and we're sitting here getting ready to start the fifth year of shooting and fundraising. This is a part of the live stream, obviously for 24 hours that provides some entertainment and some education and some inspiration. And the first 4 years we've raised 635,000, but Summer, you're going to help push us closer to 1 million. So thank you.
Oh, I'm
Thank you.
honored. It's all you. It's all you. All
I'm,
you.
I'm so I'm so grateful for your time. I'm so glad to be your teammate in so many different ways and levels. And thank you for giving us some of your valuable time and for fighting through your cold.
Oh my God, I'm
You're,
so
you're a
embarrassed. I was
champion.
coughing. And I should have known where the mute button was. I should have been muting while I was coughing. I am so sorry. Like bad Zoom etiquette.
Not
Apologize.
at all. Look, we're in the driveway and anything goes with a live production in the driveway. So
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. All right. Well, keep it up. So proud of you. And thanks, Debbie. Honored to be your teammate as well.